Hello, everyone. I'm Anna from GreenGeeks, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar on optimizing WordPress for performance and speed, presented by our very own Marco Berrocal. Real quick, I want to say a couple of words for those of you who may not be familiar with GreenGeeks. We are a 300% green energy web hosting provider, which means we put back 3 times the power we consume into the grid in the form of renewable energy. And we have been recognized by the US EPA since 2009 as a Green Power Partner. We offer share hosting, reseller hosting, VPS, and dedicated server. Now, a couple of notes about the webinar. If you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the Q&A so Marco can address them at the end of the presentation. You're always welcome to chat in the chat room. Just remember to select everyone if you want everyone to see what you are discussing. And as always, we're recording this. So if you have to step away from your computer or your phone, don't worry about it, because we will be sending you a copy of this recording in the next couple of days. And finally, we have live transcription enabled. So you have the option to enable them by clicking on the show caption icon at the bottom of your screen. And I'm going to introduce the team today from GreenGeeks. Erica Barbosa, who will be assisting us with the Q&A and the chat. Hey, welcome, Erica. Do you want to say hi?
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. My name is Erica. I am from Costa Rica, and today I'm going to be assisting the chat. I hope you enjoy today with Marco, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Erica. And I guess I'm going to leave the floor to you, Marco. Would you like to introduce yourself and then start the presentation?
Certainly. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Marco Berrocal. I am a senior WordPress developer out of Costa Rica. I have worked in the WordPress ecosystem for almost 14 years now. It's been quite the ride. I work here at GreenGeeks in partner relations, but I also freelance with development companies around the world doing WordPress stuff. Coding is what I love to do. I love programming, I love design, and I love everything that is web related. And I like to speak a lot. So I am going to start the webinar, I guess. Let me share the screen real quick. Let me turn off the video just 1 second. Sorry, I had to do some magic. And now let me share my screen. Everybody see it? Can you see our homepage?
Yeah,
yes,
I can see it.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So we are going to start, and let me move this out of the way. And, GreenGeeks webinar, WordPress and speed, make your website load faster. So what are we going to learn today? First of all, we're going to learn how to speed up your website, of course. I think that's one of the main goals when it comes to this webinar. Chances are, either if you have your own small business or you've worked designing websites, usually when the project finishes, one of the details that doesn't get included is site speed or performance. We kind of omit that. And then once we launch the project and we go live with it, after the thrill of relaunching or redesigning or coming up with a brand new website is over, we start to see things that we kind of don't like the outcome of it. And usually speed is one of them. It's an afterthought and not a forethought when it comes to developing websites. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. I mean, I don't know how many projects I've worked on that it has been like that, but it's always good to keep that in mind when it comes to doing websites. Another thing I want to teach you guys or tell you is how the web works. How does the internet protocol work, and why does this affect speed? The other thing is, what factors contribute when it comes to speed issues in order for you to remedy them. This is tied with the second point as to how the web works. So we're going to speak about assets and how they work and how they load onto your web browser. And this is a funny one. You will learn what it means when they tell you just fill your browser cache. I'm sure you've dealt with other companies in the past. Something doesn't work, and they just tell you, oh yeah, just flush your cache and everything should work. Usually it does. Sometimes it doesn't, but I am going to explain to you what that is and why is that important when it comes to speed. So you may be wondering, why is speed important? Well, user experience, note the user word. Users do not like to wait for websites to load slow. Metrics show that the sweet spot is usually 2 seconds after you make the page request, and after that, people start losing their patience, and conversions start to drop dramatically, user engagement start to drop dramatically, everything starts to go downhill after that. So speed is one of those things that you need to get right, because you are sending people to your door, but everybody's bouncing because of speed. The second issue is Google. Part of the Google algorithm when it comes to search engine rankings considers speed as one of its factors. And this has to do largely because we live in a web world, a mobile world, I'm sorry, and most of the users who access a website are using a mobile device. They are using usually a network, carrier network, phone carrier network, which isn't as fast or optimal as, for example, Wi-Fi. So Google considers this when it comes to search engine importance. So it's always good to keep that in mind. The third reason where everybody like, well, it's the environment. As I'm going to explain to you how the web works, the less requests that we make, the more information that doesn't need to be transferred, it's sent out to users, which in turn is less power, and which in turn is obviously saving resources when it comes to energy. So if you are saving data when it comes to users, this is good for the environment because you're using less power on your servers to send that actual data. So people usually ask, what makes my website slow? I'm going to go with the first. Hosting is a big factor here. One of the things that it's important to keep in mind, I know most of you are customers here at GreenGeeks, and we have excellent benchmarks. But when you are using, choosing a hosting company, it's always good to keep the metrics in mind as far as how your hosting company performs. This is usually found online. You can do a couple of research of it, like, for example, you can search for GreenGeeks benchmark or GreenGeeks hosting performance or GreenGeeks speed and things like that. And you can start to see the comparisons between different hosting providers. But nevertheless, it's always important to realize that even if you have a simple website, your hosting feels adequate, it feels fast. Your website loads in an acceptable time. The second thing is script and resources. By scripts and resources, I usually mean JavaScript files, CSS files, things of that nature. When it comes to WordPress, usually when we install plugins and themes, scripts get added, CSS files get added, and this starts to pile up as far as overload is concerned. So it's always useful to keep that in mind. The third is assets. By assets, I mean files that serve the web, like, for example, pictures, videos, what else? Documents, not so much, but it's mostly pictures and videos that are labeled as assets. And the fourth are themes and plugins. Usually when we install themes, we don't know what's behind the scenes, and we kind of go for the whole fancy, or we go for certain features that we don't use, or we leave them as is. And the same with plugins. We're installing a piece of software that we really don't know if performance was kept in mind. So we install that, and after that, we install another plugin, and then another plugin, and next thing you know, your website starts to blow up as far as performance is concerned. Usually people ask me, what is the sweet spot as far as plugins are concerned? And I typically start to worry when it's over 20 plugins for a small website. So usually it's best to keep that down from 20 and down when you have a small, simple website. And obviously, the bigger the website it is, or the more traffic you have, the more plugins that you are going to need. So how does the web work? How does the internet work? And for this, I am going to show you a simple, page, I would guess, which is our site, which is greengeeks.com. So every time you type in the address greengeeks.com, a server is going to respond and say, oh, this is where I am. I am GreenGeeks. So what do you need? So when I say you, it's the browser, right? So the browser is going to say, hey, I'm going to need your your homepage. So the browser is going to say, okay, the web page consists of all of these files. Here you go. So remember the whole assets and resources and scripts, all of that takes part of what the web request is. And think of it like a walkie-talkie in terms of the browser saying, hey, I need this JavaScript file. Server says, okay. Hey, I need this CSS file. The server says, okay. Hey, I need this picture file. And the server says, okay. So you get the gist. The more calls that you make, the more time it takes for your website to fully load. So one of the biggest things that you can do as far as saving assets is concerned is to keep the amount of files as minimal as possible, making the fewest amount of walkie-talkie calls that you can. Now, you may be wondering, how many calls does my website make? And this is a very cool feature that Google or major browsers have, because if you go to View and you go to Developer, you can see, and you can go to developer tools over here. You can go to this little tab called network. And in here, let me get rid of this and let me reload this over here. And let me go like this. As you can see to my right, you see all of these files start to load. You see all of these files and you see this graphic. You shouldn't get scared, but what you want to look at essentially are these files, like how many of them am I calling? So in GreenGeeks, I am making 93 requests. So that means I have to make 93 walkie-talkie calls. Whereas, for example, if I go to my own website, marcoberrocal.com, I am making a lot as well. I'm making 92. So if you compare, for example, GreenGeeks with my website, you can see that GreenGeeks is it's a far bigger website. I mean, it has way more things going on with almost the same amount of requests that I do. So you could say that my website is by far less efficient as far as calls are concerned compared to GreenGeeks, because GreenGeeks is a far larger website. It has a lot more things going on, and it's far better optimized as far as scripting is concerned, as far as asset is concerned, than my own. So in here, you can see all the files that are called. Usually, when I set the walkie-talkie call and I say, hey, give me this, and the server says, okay, here you go. This is the status code, which means 200. 200 usually means that the server found it, the server has it for you, and the server says, okay, here you go. So if you click on it, you can see, what the request is, things of that nature, but it's really not important to look at this. What you're interested in is basically the amount of requests and the amount of data transferred. So as you can see over here, we are doing 93 requests, and we are transferring 1.8 megabytes of files. That is the total file size that the server needs to give to the user in order to serve the page at greengeeks.com. So, for example, here we have a 403. This means that it's forbidden, but this usually means that GreenGeeks does not have access to this, does not have permission to this URL. So it could be something that is related to the actual vendor and not something that is particularly on our side. So we can scroll down and we can see that pretty much everything has been served, everything's okay, and everything looks good. And you can also toggle these by size, and you can see if there is something that you're saying, oh, this is really big, I need to remedy this. So if I scroll down, let me do like this. And let me expand this a little further. So this is the biggest file size that we have. And I can see that over here, for example, and say, live chat. This has to do with live chat. So at GreenGeeks, we use live chat to help our customers out. So naturally, this is going to be one of the biggest files that we serve. And from there on, we could say, okay, we're going to make the business decision of keeping this. We want to optimize this. We may want to change chat vendor in order to use something else. But the key concept here is to start balancing these things and start asking questions as to whether I need this or not, or if I can use something different that is far more optimal as far as size is concerned. This, for example, is the consent banner, which is this banner over here. This banner weighs a little bit. It weighs around 93 kilobytes. So again, we ask the question, is this strictly necessary? And from our perspective, like from GreenGeeks' perspective, it absolutely is. So that has to stay. But exactly the way the web works. So if I go to this, if I go, for example, to WordPress hosting over here, this is going to reload again. It's going to download these assets again, and it's going to serve a different website. So as you can see, we're starting to get to certain things that you may be saying, hey, if I loaded this on the homepage and I load this now, can't I store a copy of this on my browser or on the server? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can, it's something called caching, which I'm going to get there in a bit. So as you can see here, this has 4 more requests than the previous page. And again, the page loaded and everything looks great. So that is more or less how the web works. And this is why it's important for you to keep in mind the amount of requests and the total page size that you are going to need. So next up is the concept of caching. So caching basically means storing something for later. It helps because it is a copy. The idea here is to save requests. So going back to our GreenGeeks or my own page example, like I said, if this loads on the homepage, and let's see if it does, I'm sure it does. We're going to search for that over here. Font. No. Let me see over here. Let me go, wait for it. Wait. I'm into trouble. Wait, let me reload because I lost it. What did I do? Hold up. No, network. Hold on, let me close this. Let me reopen because I kind of lost my train of thought. GreenGeeks.com. And it's not working. Oh, here it is. So let's say, for example, if this loads on this page and it loads on the WordPress page, why don't I keep a copy of this in order for me to not re-download it again? And that is exactly the concept of what caching is. It's basically saving a copy so that you don't need to download it again. And thus you save requests each and every time you load a different page within the website. So at GreenGeeks, we definitely cache. We definitely offer these type of options to our customers, and we'll get there in a bit. But that is basically the concept of what caching is. It's storing a copy so that you don't need to download it again, and thus saving requests. So there are different types of caching, and one of them is called site cache. Site cache basically means that instead of me going, and I'm going to use my website this time, instead of me going to Marco Berrocal, okay, so this is my homepage, okay? So this is my homepage, this is what it looks like, and my homepage is using WordPress, right? And you go over here, and you see that my front page is this one, página, I'm sorry, it's in Spanish. So with WordPress, it works a little bit different. The whole network calls and the whole walkie-talkie calls, it works the same, but WordPress uses a database to store information. So a database is like this giant Excel file that stores information. So WordPress, usually databases are a point of failure when it comes to performance, because the more people that are connecting to your website, the more calls it needs to do to your website. So a site cache basically means that instead of calling the database, we are going to save this whole page, just as we did like here, like save page as. Let's do that here. We're going to save this. And sorry about the Fortnite, but we're going to need it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So wait. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So as you can see over here, oh, never mind. I have this page right here, right? I have this, and if I open this, if I double click this, I'm going to open this, and it's going to load exactly the same, except for the map thing, right? But the site cache concept is the same. It's basically a page that is going to be saved on your server, and thus, every time someone goes to that page, instead of making the whole calls and making the whole database calls, it's going to look for a directory called caching directory, and it's going to say, I have a copy of that here. So it's going to grab this file and serve you the whole thing right back to you. That is way faster than making all of these calls, making all of these database calls, making all of this behind the scenes work that is WordPress related, and it's going to give you a copy way, way faster. Now, you may be wondering, what is the downside of this? The downside of this is that if I leave a copy here, if I have this copy here, and let's say, for example, I update my website, let's do that. Let's do that visually. So if I update my, let's say like this, let's edit this with Elementor. Okay, so let's pretend for a second that now you're going to see that this says contenido estático of performance. It says mixture of Spanish and English, but you're going to see that the page that I have cached doesn't have that. And that is the downside of doing site caching. If you update your website and your pages are cached, users are going to see the old copy of it, because that is what is being served on the server, because it doesn't bypass whenever content gets updated. So that is a downside of having site cache. So as a business owner, you need to think about whether my website gets updated often or not. If my page is pretty static, knowing that I'm not going to update it in a very long time, I can use a site caching and tell the caching plugin, hey, can you delete this every X amount of days? And how do you determine X? Well, it depends on how busy your website is. So for busier websites, you need that value to be lower because you're updating the site more frequently. But for sites that are not really, that don't have a lot of traffic, you could, increase that to many days, like for 20, 30, I don't know. It's really, really up to you, because you as the business owner are the one that is going to know how long does it take for you to update the website. So that is one of the downsides of having a site cache. And like I said, how dynamic is my content? So the next one is called browser cache. Browser cache, on the other hand, it's files. Let's go back to the developer tools. And I don't know what happened here. Oh, it's this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of that, and let's reload. So browser cache, it's essentially the browser saving these files onto your local drive, onto your local device, onto your mobile, onto your computer, tablet, you name it. It saves locally on your file. It's not something that you as a WordPress user can configure or tell the browser, hey, save this for me. No, you can't do that. Usually browsers do that. So whenever you hear someone say, hey, can you delete your cache? It essentially means going to here and cache image and files. It frees up 9.4 megabytes. So if I do that, whatever files were saved here are no longer there, and the browser needs to re-download them and save them onto your computer. So this is why people tell you, usually when it comes to support requests and whatnot, hey, can you clear your cache? It's because usually some of these files may be cached onto your computer and they are not actually current. So if I reload this over here, it's going to look exactly the same. But again, the files, some of them will be saved onto your computer. So if I go again and do this, and I'm going to clear this again, now I have 3.1 megabytes again. So once again, the browser did that for me. So it's something that works behind the scenes but it's usual. It's good to know that this happens whenever you come into problems when it comes to files not updated properly, because you could have, for example, a JavaScript file, like for example this, that doesn't get updated whenever you update the map or something. So you may be saying, oh, I may need to clear the cache and the browser cache, and you do that and everything should work as expected. The third one, it's a little techy. It's called server cache. It's called server cache, and it essentially means the server will cache some of the things for you. I don't want to get too techy on this, but it essentially has to do with the fact that the server will use, how can I explain this? Let's go back to GreenGeeks. So at GreenGeeks, we have this, right? WordPress hosting, WooCommerce, reselling, and virtual private server. Let's say that GreenGeeks grabs this from WordPress as posts. Okay, so instead of going to WordPress and asking for the database to get you these 4 posts, what it will do is that the browser is going to make that calculation for you, keep that in the memory of the browser, the RAM memory, which is way faster than disk memory, and it's going to give you that data back. So it's a little techy, and it's not something that I think that you are going to need, because this is really useful when it comes to large websites that are so large that they can't have the page caching that we discussed, because they need certain aspect of this to be dynamic. For example, I work on a project called Boston.com, and it's this site over here. So this is a news website, and we can't cache this as a page because people write articles all the time, but we can cache, for example, the most popular post, because that is something that queries the database. We're going to save that for 24 hours. And whenever a user goes, they are going to get a cached version of this from the server. Whereas everything else, it's going to be dynamic. So server caching essentially gives you a lot of control as to what things can you cache and what things you can't. Okay. Going back to our hosting platform, one of the hosting factors is speed. Perception means everything. So at GreenGeeks, one of the things I absolutely love about GreenGeeks is that we're really, really fast hosting platform. So usually you need to ask the hosting platform, what type of servers do you have? Are they SSD disks, or are they normal hard drives as far as servers are concerned? What is your uptime? Is it scalable? You know, things like that. So perception, it might be fast on your website, but it might be slow for other users elsewhere. You know, things, you need to ask those things up front whenever you are choosing a hosting platform. But luckily for you guys, we have that covered, because speed is something that's really, really important for us. But when it comes to speed, your hosting platform it can make or break your website. So it's usually really, really important that you know that up front. I have this. One of the things I also like to do is test these things, right? So for example, oh wait, I have my mouse here. So I have this, for example, Pingdom. It's one of the platforms that I absolutely love. It's called pingdom.com. And where is it? Demo request, free trial, resources. Where is it? No, it's not here. Pingdom test. There we go. Pingdom speed test. It's this one. It's tools.pingdom.com. So, for example, we are going to grab my website, and I am going to test this from a server on a location. Since I'm in Costa Rica, I think Washington is the nearest. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to start the test. So this is going to scrutinize my website, and it's going to tell me points of failures or things that I'm doing right. This usually takes a little bit of time. So here we go. So I have a 82 grade, which is okay. My website weighs 1.6 megabytes. My load time is 2.38 seconds, which, like I said previously, we should aim for under 2 seconds. Now, later on, we're going to configure some of the stuff to see if we can do that. And the request is 96. So it's telling me I'm failing in making few HTTP requests, which is this number over here. It's the walkie-talkie thing, and it's telling me that I am doing way too many. Now, this could be very simple to solve, and I'm going to do that now so you guys can say, oh, if I go over here, where is my, if I go over here, and this is why I'm not really a fan. How do I go back? Settings, let's go over here. Yeah, I'm leaving. Now watch this. If I go over here, go to plugins. Where's Elementor? Deactivate. Other. We're going to submit. So now, if I refresh this over here, we no longer have an Elementor template, right? So let's see what happens if we tell Pingdom to analyze this again. So let's go over here again. Let's go here. Let's go. Start the test. Let's wait. Another is Gmetrics, which is a really good one. We're going to use that in a bit, but I like Pingdom more. I just like the interface a lot more. Gmetrics websites, Gmetrics. There we go. What do you know? So I disabled Elementor, and now I'm making 81 requests. And in one swoop, I shaved off like half a second off of it, which is pretty good. It's still, I need some work to do, but as you can see, and this is part of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of builders, is that builders add a lot of code, they add a lot of requests, they add a lot of bells and whistles. Yeah, they add that stuff, but it comes at a cost, at the cost of speed. So Gmetrics is another one. We're going to do marco.com. I'm going to test my website. And in the meantime, I am going to test the other site that I showed you guys, which is Boston.com. So you can see the difference as far as, you know, performance, page size, requests, and whatnot. I'm going to do this. Oh, it's asking me. Oh, I do not like that. They changed that. I can't believe that. Gmetrics, you're gone. So they're asking me for an account, which they didn't used to do that, and I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, but if you want, go ahead. It's a similar report as far as Pingdom is concerned, but it gives you the metrics and whatnot. But I am definitely not going to do an account. So going back to Boston.com, for example, this has a D score 65. Look at the page size. I mean, it's 6.9 megabytes, which is almost 5 times my own website. The load time is really good, but that is because of the server infrastructure that Boston.com has. But check out the amount of requests. It's 226 versus 81. That's almost 3 times as much. So again, you analyze and you scrutinize this, and you're like, man, we got to reduce the requests. We got to reduce the amount of files. And the cool thing about Pingdom is that it can give you like a content size by content type. And right off the bat, we can see that 5.1 megabytes are consist of images. So the site has an image problem. It has a lot of images, or they're very, very, very big. So here's where you come to start doing strategies as to what you need to do with it. So let's move forward, because, man, we're almost halfway through. So your WordPress theme, like I said, go light, go with what is needed and stick with it. So if you need something simple, get a simple theme. Don't get these themes that are huge, that have all these features that you are definitely not going to use. So it's usually best to come up front and say, what do I need my website to do? I need to have a blog. I need to have a contact form. I need to have maybe some sliders, a map or something. You know, what features am I going to need? So write that stuff down before you start looking for themes, because you may find a theme that has all of that stuff, but or it has a bunch of stuff that you're not going to definitely do not going to need. Like, for example, a booking system, or it can do I don't know, sell recipes, sell furnitures, or think like, do I need that? And if the answer is no, then definitely do not go with that theme, and turn off what you don't use. So if there are features that you definitely do not use, turn them off and go as light as possible. Same with plugins. Go with what's strictly needed. Like, there are plugins that have a bunch of stuff, like, for example, Jetpack. I mean, they're getting a lot of bad rep for that, because Jetpack is a security plugin, it's a performance plugin, it's a commenting system plugin, and I don't know what other features it does, but sometimes I don't need all of that. I just need something that handles my security, for example. So I might as well get a security plugin that does those features. So always keep that in mind. Go with what is strictly needed and nothing else. If possible, go with the API. I mean, I am the developer, so I'm going to, of course, defend that. So if you need certain functionality, you might as well go with the WordPress API and just do it yourself. But if not possible, go with a developer, and always tell the developer, performance is really important for me. Please make sure this is as light as possible. Okay. So next up, a caching plugin. There are plenty of caching plugins, but at GreenGeeks, we use LS Cache. It's a great little tool, and I'm going to show you why. So back to our website. We are here. We are plugins. Oh, here. I was right there. Lightspeed Cache. Here we go. So I'm going to activate it. And now I'm going to optimize it. And here it is. When you open that, it's going to open a dashboard. You know what? I am going to get rid of these plugins because they're annoying me. Deactivate. And deactivate. See what I'm saying? I'm not using these plugins, so why do I have them? Query monitor, deactivate. And deactivate. I'm not using this. I am going to meta slider, skip and deactivate. Deactivate. And I'm not using WooCommerce. I'm not selling anything. Deactivate. Now, let's run this again, see how it goes, right? I'm very interested. Let's go over here. And let's go over here. And while we do that, let's keep on working. So now my dashboard looks very nice. And Lightspeed Cache. Okay, so let's not get intimidated by this. As you can see, as I previously said, public cache, private cache is on, object cache is off. I don't think you can turn that off or on. That's a server setting. Let me see. Yes, definitely not. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go check here. See. Oh, look at that. So I went from 2 megabytes to 119 kilobytes, 12 requests. I had like 80 something, and the load time is under a second. And now I have a 93. Now things are looking even better. And what did I do? I just simply deleted or deactivated plugins that I definitely did not need. And you guys saw it. And now the page is even, oh, it's even sweeter. But we're going to continue. So let's look at this dashboard, and I'm not really interested in the dashboard. Let's go to presets. This is going to, yeah. So one of the cool features of Lightspeed Cache is that it has presets, right? So presets basically mean that you are going to allow Lightspeed to do the stuff for you. Like you're going to allow Lightspeed's Cache to do the tweaking for you. And that's really cool because it takes care of itself. Whereas you could go here one by one over here and start optimizing it yourself. Now, what do I recommend? I would recommend going from one end to the other and see how it behaves. First, let's apply this one and see how it goes. And let me move this. And I think I applied it. Let me see. Also, another thing I should do, I should update Lightspeed Cache, which is another thing that I didn't mention. Okay, it's updated. Let's go back. Let's go to presets. And okay. Okay, cool. So it's applied. Let me go back. Let me analyze again. And this is something you're going to have to do a lot. Like you're going to have to do changes and you go to Pingdom and you analyze and you see how things went, right? So let's see. How are we doing? Oh, look at this. So this is pretty aggressive. I mean, this is pretty cool because I now am at 99. I have a second of load time. And I have only 4 requests. I mean, that's amazing. I can't get faster than that. I don't know if I can get faster. And the page size, it's a merely 36 kilobyte. That's not even a WhatsApp or a text message image. It's less than that. So that is really, really cool because I have, let's see. Oh, that's nice. Yes, that's nice. But you still see all of these requests, right? It's 35, but here it says 4. Something is either compressed, I don't know, but we'll get there in a minute. So now I'm like, okay, I like this. But let's see what the extreme does. Because one of the things that you need to keep in mind is that, and this is why they have these presets, is that sometimes it can break your website. Like you can do this and they're not like you tweak, it's, how do I say it? As my father said, you pull the tail too hard on the doggy and the doggy gets upset. Like you got to be careful with that. Like if you do it too aggressive, you might break the website and it's just going to break for you. So let's do extreme and see how it goes. Just now. Okay, cool. So let's go to presets again. Okay, I did it. Now let me analyze again. Let's start. Let's see how it goes. So this is essentially it. Like you have to do these changes, then go to Pingdom, then go to this and look at this. This is fantastic. So now it's not even a second. It's 160 milliseconds. I can't get the page size down and I can't get the request down. But the Lightspeed preset of extreme works for my scenario. So does it work for yours? Does it break your website or not? So these are the things you need to tweak and think about when you start doing this stuff. So for the sake of things, I am not going to go over all of these settings because I think the presets, it's fantastic. And it's one of those things that I absolutely love about Lightspeed Cache is that it allows you to just set a preset and Lightspeed is going to do the things for you. Like for example, the recommended one is going to do all of this, like guest mode, minification, font display, propose, okay. This stuff is pretty techy. Like for example, aggressive, it's going to combine your CSS and JS files. And this is why the amount of requests is so little, because it grabs all your JavaScript files and all your CSS files, and it puts it into one single file, and thus saving you the amount of requests. Okay, lazy load for iframes. Okay, cool. So this is really cool. Let's see what we have on the cache. But again, I do not want to overwhelm you guys with options when the preset is just going to do it. But it's good to keep these things in mind, because and this is why Lightspeed Cache is such a good plugin, because it allows you to have control over a lot of things that you have on your website. This is a time to live. Like, has to do with how long do these files going to last, like in seconds. So this is like a week. You're basically saying here, okay, the time to live for my files is going to be a week. So after a week, the cache gets purged or deleted and new files are generated for you. But again, I don't want to get into this because I think it's really, really techy. Here, for example, do you want to auto purge rules for publish and update? This is really cool because it basically means that if I update a page on WordPress, the cache is going to get purged and it's going to be there once again for users. So remember the whole static thing I said about it sitting there for a few days and you update and nothing happens? Here with Lightspeed Cache, it allows you to do that, and whenever you update a page or author or whatever, it's going to purge the cache for you. Here, if you want certain URLs to be purged automatically and at a certain time, you can do that. But again, this is too techy. These are hooks, and basically they mean that whenever these hooks fire, the cache is going to activate itself. But again, it's a little techy. I think the presets is just fine, and you're just going to do it, hit a preset, apply it, go to Pingdom, check it out. And if you say, hey man, I'm happy with this, then you're happy, and that's all that matters, But again, let's see if there's something interesting like object cache. Again, I don't want to go into this because it's way too techy. Like, for example, you need Redis for object cache, and that's far out of the scope of this. Image optimization. Let's see what it does. No, I'm gonna skip that because there are plugins that do image optimization. Page optimization, database. Here, for example, you can set where you want to minify your CSS, combine them, this is what gives you control, whereas the presets over here, they do all that stuff for you. So we're going to skip that. We're going to leave that for now as is, okay? Pictures count. So it's important to look how thumbnails are served. So whenever you upload an image, it can be either lossy or lossless. So lossless compression. No, wait, let me backtrack again. So when you compress images, we're basically shrinking their file size, okay? And we can either shrink them lossy or lossless. So lossless compression means that as the file size is compressed, the picture quality remains the same. It does not get worse. So the file can be decompressed to its original quality. Lossy compression permanently removes the data. So lossy basically means that you are removing certain data out of the image, whereas compression means that you are compressing as much as you can. Think of it as a sponge, I would say. The more you squeeze the sponge, the smaller it gets. But once you release the pressure off the sponge is going to go back to its original position. And that is essentially what lossless means. Whereas lossy basically means, hey, I'm going to cut the sponge. I'm going to cut the sponge in half, and this is going to be the picture. So that is important for you to keep in mind, because you may have a photography website or images may be important to you, and you need to determine what type of image plugin do you want to use, or what type of trimming do you want to do in order to do that. So there are plugins that do this on the fly. Smush is one of them. Lazy Load Images is another, and they do it on their servers or yours. Another app that I really like, it's a Squoosh. It's this one over here. Oh, wait. Oh. My computer froze. Wait. You guys hear me?
We can hear you, Marco.
Yeah, but okay, here we go. Hey, thank you.
Okay.
So Squoosh app. It's this one over here. So you could do this instead of installing a plugin, right? You could just paste your images over here. Like, for example, I have these Fortnite images because I love Fortnite. And you can just put them here. And you can say, okay, how much do I want to compress? I usually keep quality at 70. And yeah, that looks good. Okay. And let's see. And now I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do this over here. And now I have the original image over here. Let's keep both. Okay. Let's go back here. And here you can see that the original image weighs 305 kilobytes, whereas the copy that I did weighs half. So you're trimming that size considerably. So it's important that it's part of, and you can see from the quality, you can't really notice much if one is better than the other. They look almost identical. So Squish is a really, really cool app that allows to do that for you. And you can maybe reduce the, you see over here, you start to lose quality. If you go over here, you're like, okay, you see the quality, it doesn't look as good. This is the original, and this is what the new one is going to look like. And here, yeah, so 70, I like 70. So that looks good. So Squish is one, or you could go to plugins and use Smush. Smush is, I had it here. I'm going to activate that. And we are, where is it? I'm going to update it. And we have that over here. Smush. And Smush has a CDN and local WebP, which is CDN basically means that you can download the images or upload them on different servers around the world. So whenever someone requests for that image based on your location, it's going to get that image for you, which obviously makes it significantly faster. And local WebP, it's a technology by Google. They are trying to serve images with a format called WebP, which is way better as far as compression is concerned versus JPEG. So again, the pro features do that. But how can I? Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Everything looks good. And bulk slush. Let's see. Oh, that's the one word. Recheck images. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do that again. I am going to go to media over here. And I am going to add a new media file, right? I'm going to upload my Fortnite images. I'm going to upload these two. So as you can see over here, this one is 433. This one is 329. I'm going to upload them onto WordPress. Okay, they're cool. And let's see, 321, right? And this was okay, cool. So now I'm going to go back to Smush. I'm going to bulk Smush. And let's bulk this. Let's wait for it. So you may be wondering, this is far more convenient, right? This is on my WordPress website. This is on my, this is, you know, it's right there. Just upload the image and do it, and it does it for me. But again, this comes at a cost. It's your server doing this stuff. It's you using resources from the server, and that consumes far more resources, and thus, you know, that may have an impact on speed. So if we go back, we have smushed this, and let's see what media says. Still the same. But I think it's because Smush saves them to their directory, which is correct. Yeah. Yes. So if I do this, it's going to smush my original images. That's right. Super. Wow. Okay. Cool. And let's save this. So yeah, what I did with Smush was Smush does upload a copy of it. Okay, let's focus Smush. Let's see if that works. See the directory Smush savings. So it has a different directory, not the actual media one. So if you ask me, what do I prefer? I kind of prefer this workflow better because this is isolated from my WordPress installation. I'm using one less plugin to do this. And whenever I'm ready, I just upload the images and that's that. So it's part of the workflow, you should say, like prepping things and making sure the files are there. Let's see. Let's wait for this. Woo. And let's see if it did, or if I'm getting light. No, it didn't. Huh. Ah, here it is. View stats. So this is the original image, but Smush has these, and it has saved 88 kilobytes, which is, yeah, it's like a 27%. So this is the original image. It's going to keep the original image, but in the WordPress installation directory, it's going to have these versions, file size versions that have been already smushed or compressed. So yeah, that's why I couldn't see that over here. So Smush is a great little plugin that does that. Again, it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. I mean, I personally prefer not to. Videos, if you must use them, go with YouTube. I mean, YouTube has a great or Vimeo. Just upload the video to YouTube or Vimeo and serve it from within WordPress, because that is far more efficient as opposed to you uploading the video onto your WordPress installation and having users to download the file. So I always recommend using YouTube and Vimeo. I know it's not the best, but hey, it is what it is as far as speed is concerned. Last but not least, I already showed you Pingdom, GT metrics. You got to have an account. I really didn't like that. Loader.io, it's a tool that is WordPress specific. The reason why I didn't use it was because you need to upload a file in order to do that. So this is going to analyze your WordPress website on a database scale. It's a really, really cool tool, and it allows you to have even more information as far as performance is concerned. Google Page Speed Insights. This is from Google. I mean, you can Google it and see. And Web Page Test, it's something that's integrated with Google Chrome. It's this button over here called Lighthouse. You can analyze the page load, and it's going to do essentially what Pingdom did. It's going to do exactly the same for you. So some people prefer that. I prefer to use Pingdom. I got 100. Yeah. So that means my site loaded really fast. I mean, amazing. It's still complaining about it, but okay, come on, man. I got 100. Don't be like that. So Lighthouse is basically this web page test. Other than that, do multiple tests. You guys saw me. I was tweaking stuff, then I was testing. I was tweaking stuff, then I was testing, until you come to a point where you feel satisfied with your speed and that it doesn't compromise the functionality of your website. Okay. Location matters. I mean, if you are in Europe, if you're a GreenGeeks customer, you're in Europe, don't have the servers in the US. Make sure you talk to us so we can transfer your stuff to Europe. We have servers, data centers in Europe. So if the bulk of your customers are in Europe, you should have your servers in Europe. You shouldn't have them in North America or Asia or something like that, just to save a few dollars. It's not scalable. It's not efficient. It's the correct word. Stick to a workflow. I kind of showed you what my workflow was. I got rid of plugins. I got rid of Elementor, the theme, and I started to tweak stuff within Lightspeed Cache. Test before caching, really important. Make sure your website is good, and when you start caching, test it again and see how it works. And the last recommendation is don't obsess with this. I mean, I got 100 here, and I'm really happy about it, but there comes a point where you can say you have to give up, and you're like, I'm not going to obsess about getting 100. You know what I mean? So just take it easy. Everything's going to be all right. And that's all there is. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. There's like some questions in the Q&A. Do you mind if I go over them?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Jacob, okay, thank you. Jacob is asking, how does my GreenGeeks stack up for speed? I'm assuming my GreenGeeks account, like site.
What's the question?
How does my GreenGeeks stack up for speed?
Very good. One of the things I mentioned in this webinar is that GreenGeeks is very big on speed. We love to have servers and infrastructure that allows our customers to serve fast websites. So it's one of the things I love the most about GreenGeeks. I have to be honest with you, I have to as well at other companies, but I love GreenGeeks because of this. The other hosting, it's not good, as GreenGeeks as far as speed is concerned. And I absolutely love them.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Serhi is asking, do you use WP on your GreenGeeks site?
If I use WP?
Do you use WP on your GreenGeeks site? WordPress, maybe?
What does it mean? Yeah, well, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think so.
Of course.
I think that's what you meant, right?
Yes, I think so too. Jeanette is asking, what do you recommend for a theme? I know it's not necessarily related to speed, but do you recommend any theme?
As far as speed is concerned, wait, let me see. I would recommend searching for Google on fastest WordPress themes and try it out and see how it performs as far as page speed is concerned, once you are satisfied with the looks and everything. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Thanks. Jesus is saying, in this case, wouldn't it be better to update the entire WP and then optimize it? I don't know what it's referring to be honest with you.
I could have. What he's saying is if I should have updated all the plugins before disabling them. I could have done that, but then again, when I was going over the webinar and was seeing the plugins, I was like, man, I don't need this stuff. Why do I have it? And that's part of the mindset that you need to have. Like, if you don't use it, get rid of it, because it's just adding bloat to your website. That's just not necessary.
Yeah, that's a good point. Barbara is asking, how do you back up a WordPress site? That's
it's not the scope of this webinar, but I'll gladly answer it. I use Updraft Plus. I think in the previous webinar, I recommended it because Updraft Plus allows me to have scheduled backups several times, as many times as I want, and I can use an offsite location easily using either Google Drive or Dropbox, which are the two things that I use. I think it has OneDrive as well. So that allows me to do the websites in a different location than where my stuff is hosted. So Updraft Plus, I like
Updraft Plus. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I think she's referring to when you were showing the Lightspeed cache. Under second level presets, it says it requires domain key. What does that mean practically when you were showing the Lightspeed cache?
Let me go back because I did not see it. Let me share my screen again. That one I didn't see. Let me see. I have a problem, Anna, which is this. I don't know if you see the questions on my right. Do you see it?
The question.
I have. Oh, wait, I can't really see my browser. Hold on.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to go okay, here we go. She said I need a domain key.
And at the second level of Lightspeed cache.
It's a good question. I am guessing. Okay, I think I know what it is. So if you are not a GreenGeeks customer, you're going to need a domain key, that domain key. That essentially means that you're going to have to register at Lightspeed cache in order to get that domain key, and you're going to have to authenticate yourself in order for Lightspeed to know that this is your website. But since GreenGeeks offers this plugin out of the box, you do not need it. Yes, that's yeah.
Thank you. Maria is asking, I'm looking at, I think she means Divi themes for our photography site. Any suggestion? Divi themes for a photography site?
I mean, Divi is like Elementor. It's a page builder, and it's great because it allows you to, do stuff fast. But again, performance might be of a hit. If you can use the block editor that WordPress offers, that would be better, in my opinion, because the block editor is far more efficient than Divi or Elementor. So I would go with Gutenberg and using the block editor and do my stuff, build my website like that. That's how I would do it.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, Marla, it wasn't Maria, is asking, is it possible to test a site on Pingdom without creating an account for the trial?
Oh, wait, I see the domain key here, It's right here. Hold on. Huh. No, you know what? I thought it was that, but it's not. So sorry if I answered that question incorrectly. But what is the domain key? Why does it say? Okay. So this first preset does not need a domain key. And from here on, it does say you need one. And if I go over here and see this, is you must have a domain key before linking to quick.cloud. And if I go over here and see the quick.cloud, I am guessing this is a CDN, which is a content delivery network. So if I want to use this feature, image optimization, I'm going to need a CDN, and thus I am going to need a key. And yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. So the question was, is it possible to test a site on Pingdom without creating an account for the trial?
What account for the trial? That I don't understand that.
Can you test a site on Pingdom without creating an account?
Yes, this is a free tool that you can test, which is why I didn't like GTmetrix, because you needed to create an account.
Okay, so you don't need an account for the trial. Luis is asking, load image in WebP is the best option?
WebP is a new format used by Google, and they're trying to push that more and more. But I mean, it has some acceptance, but it's not like a standard yet. I mean, it's still one of those things that Google is really, really pushing forward. It has one of the advantages that, as far as compressing is concerned, especially for pictures, it's absolutely great. But again, it's not something that it's not an industry standard like JPEG or GIF or PNG. So it's still in the air. I know Google does a lot of stuff, and this is one of the projects that they're working on. So it's still not 100% established.
Oh, okay, thank you. Jesus is asking, saying most of the performance and load testing platforms suggest the usage of that WebP. Could you elaborate?
No, I don't know. I usually use JPEG. I still don't use WebP a lot. I'm sorry.
You're not using WebP.
No.
Nemone is asking, is it preferable to use Mesh or Squoosh.com over compressing images in Photoshop?
You could, well, not everybody uses Photoshop first. So I would say that if you use Photoshop and it's part of your workflow, go for it. Then use Photoshop. But most people don't. So I would think it's best if they use the squish or smush, and then just do it like that.
Okay. Serhi is saying sometimes size of the optimized JPEG is lower than WebP. Is it good to use JPEG instead of WebP? But page speed from the Google still want WebP. What's better?
Again, WebP has a far better compression quality than JPEG. So if you can go with WebP, go with WebP. But you know, I usually try to stick what we call in programming the lowest common denominator, and that is for me JPEG, because that is like an industry. Yeah, that's like a standard format for serving files on the web. WebP is just not there yet.
Not yet there yet. Yeah. Radu says, does removing an editor like Elementals, Elementor, I guess, for speed? Yeah, does removing an editor like Elementor for speed affect the editing done with it on the web page? So that's
yes, because if you remove Elementor, you can't use the editing features that it has. You're going to have to stick with whatever WordPress offers out of the box, and that is the Gutenberg editor and full site editing, which is why I said to the person who asked, as far as the photography website was concerned, to use, you know, what's native to WordPress, which is Gutenberg. It's far more efficient because from a technical perspective, all of those files are bundled into your WordPress installation, whereas these plugins are not. They're not bundled. So it's far more files in order to mimic the functionality that Gutenberg has to offer.
Great, thanks for answering that. Robin is asking if is Lightspeed a WordPress plugin?
Yes.
So it will be, you can find it under the plugins directory. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, if you go to here, add new plugin. Maybe if I do speed. No. Speed, no. So if I use cache, there we go. Here it is.
So it is.
This is another one that's really popular, but I mean, it's out of the scope. This is also really, really popular. As you can see from the installations and the reviews, it's really, really popular. But I prefer Lightspeed.
Yeah, thank you. Great. We're kind of running out of time. I'm just going to try and go through these last questions and see if there's any. So you're using all-in-one SEO. Would you recommend that over the Yoast? All-in-one SEO over Yoast? I know this is not really.
That was because of the previous webinar. So I have this over here. And yeah, I mean, I prefer Yoast, to be honest with you. I think it has far more features. And yeah, but I had it installed. I don't know. It was part of the previous webinar. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And then Andrea is asking, how can I tell where my server is geographically? That's a great question. I don't know.
If you're in GreenGeeks, you can see that I think under cPanel, you should see the option to your right. We have different nodes on our company, and we have data centers all over the world. So the first 3 letters should give you a description of where that is. Yeah, it's under cPanel. When you log in, it's to your right.
Okay, great. I didn't know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fabrizio is saying, what is the difference between server cache and object cache? I think you went over that at the beginning of the presentation. Server cache.
What's the difference between server cache and object cache?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it page cache and server cache?
Yeah,
well, server cache can have multiple types of caching, and object cache is one of those server cache aspect of it. Like, for example, you're looking at here, Redis is one of the most popular object cache there is, along with memcache. Again, it basically means that the server is doing calculations for you, and it keeps those calculations in the server memory, like not hard drive memory, but actual computer memory. So accessing that is really, really, really fast because it does not need to go to a database and query the database, or it doesn't need to go to a disk and read any caching information. It uses the actual physical memory of the server, which is quite large, and it gives you that calculation back. So what types of objects can you put there? I mean, there's tons. I mean, you can do, like, for example, query posts, or you can do options, or it's really up to the developer as to what they want to do. In the projects that I've worked on, we usually do queries, like database queries, when it comes to fetching posts or fetching metadata of posts and or settings and things like that. We keep that in the physical memory using object cache. There's also, as far as server cache is concerned, there's also, what's the name of this? It's basically, I forget the techie name, but it basically means that WordPress runs with PHP, and it caches certain scripting aspects of the language from page to page, so that it doesn't need to go to the actual compiler, which is what translates the code, and it boosts your performance a little bit. Sorry if I'm getting too techie, but yeah, that's why server, I didn't touch it a lot. It's usually used for very, very large websites where you have millions of visitors a month, and you need to optimize like every little aspect of the code. So yeah, sorry if I got a little bit derailed.
That's okay. Sergi is saying, is ditching jQuery on my WordPress site a good idea? How difficult can such work be? It's worth it?
That's a little bit out of the scope, but I'll give you some historical background. jQuery was made because it was very difficult back then to get a consistent behavior using JavaScript, because what you did in JavaScript could have a different behavior. And when it was conceived, Internet Explorer was still the largest browser. So jQuery was a framework that was made in order to have consistency across all browsers using one single language, which in this case was jQuery. So it was a framework. So what happened was that like all these browser vendors, like for example, Microsoft, Google, and Mozilla, they started to agree as far as how should JavaScript compile and behave. And thus, people started to use JavaScript more and less jQuery. So unless you have a job or a project that it relies on jQuery still, which I don't know why, but you should definitely shift towards JavaScript.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're almost at the end of the answer questions. Maria is asking, and with GreenGeeks, how do we get the proper Lightspeed GreenGeeks offers? I think you have to call us. We need to.
I'm sorry.
How do we get the proper Lightspeed GreenGeeks offers? I believe you said it's included in the Lightspeed is included.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's included. Yeah, but I don't know if all accounts or not. That I don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah, Maria, contact our support.
Okay.
And then Christian is just saying, great webinar. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. All right. Well, we're getting to the end and we're running out of time, but thank you everyone for staying to the end and for your really great questions. Thank you, Marco, for today.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Erica, for your help. And everyone, like, look out for our emails. We have already our January webinar on Google site auditing, and you'll find it at greengeeks.com/webinars, and you'll also receive an email in a couple of weeks asking you to sign up. And thank you. I guess we will see you soon.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Marco.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.